Hi everyone, welcome back to the table. I'm Kim Ganassin, and today I'd like to kick off a new series about the fourth dimension, and I'm calling it My Fourth Dimension. Now in other videos we hinted that the fourth dimension for the discipline of science is linear time, and the fourth dimension for the study of consciousness and spirituality is probably a zone between regular three-dimensional consciousness and fifth dimension consciousness, which is where we are anticipating going with the shift. Okay, so what is this fourth dimension? Actually, what is it to you? If it is in fact a lucid, semi-lucid dream zone where you're somewhat connected to fifth, somewhat connected to third, have you had any experiences there? Well, I'd like to tell you about my many experiences in the fourth dimension, and I want to start by saying that I've had experiences in a fourth dimension of consciousness in different contexts. Okay, and today I'm going to set up a little visual of one of the contexts in which I spend a lot of time in fourth dimensional consciousness. Okay, so let's get a little map going. All right, so here's the Earth. All right, let's say this is the Earth, and I'm sitting in the chair on the Earth in my three-dimensional body with my third dimension consciousness, and I'm connecting to you over a two-dimensional format. Okay? Now, here we are on the planet, and when we go to sleep and we go to the other side, which is fifth dimension, and do our stuff overnight and come back into our bodies, we travel through a fourth dimension. Okay? So here's the Earth, and just about where the Earth's atmosphere, okay, above the Earth's actual atmosphere, where that starts to end is where you hit a zone around the Earth that is a fourth dimension zone. It's a very busy place, and I'll go more into that in a minute, but you've got the Earth's atmosphere. Just above the Earth's atmosphere is a dimension 4 zone. And then just above that is fifth dimension, which then takes you well out into the universe. But in the fifth dimension zone above the Earth, it's the other side. Okay? So when you think in terms of the fourth dimension potentially being a place where lucid dreaming occurs, I agree with it. I totally agree with it. Okay? The body stays on the three-dimensional Earth. Your consciousness opens up in fourth dimension, which is a zone around the Earth, on its way to going to the other side, which is a dimension above that. Okay? So, what's very interesting is there's two things to look at as far as this layered orientation of dimensions around the Earth. One thing to look at is, who am I when I am in fourth dimension, right? Who am I? And then what goes on in this fourth dimension zone around the Earth? Okay, so I want to let you know that I've spent so much time in this fourth dimension zone, it's not even funny. I've been there in the middle of the day when I'm completely lucid, and I'm hanging out in the fourth dimension zone, completely lucid in the third dimension as well. But most people don't do that. Most people, when they leave their bodies at night, when they're asleep, and they're moving their way up to the other side to do their thing, they travel through the fourth dimension, okay, the fourth dimension zone. And sometimes they get to the fourth dimension zone, and we just kind of hover there. We just kind of hover above the Earth, okay? It's kind of like being in It's kind of like being at a baseball game in the nosebleed section, and you're looking down. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of souls up there hanging out in the fourth dimension over the Earth, observing what's going on the earth. And most of these people have three-dimensional bodies that are asleep on the planet below, and they've just come up and they're hovering and looking. And we hang out there in groups sometimes. Why? Because as we do on the other side, we're problem solving. We're observing what's going on our earth, and what do we need to observe, right? What do we need to observe about what's going on the earth from a fourth dimensional consciousness perspective? And also a physically different perspective. Now you're looking down on it, right? And because fourth dimension allows you to feel the interconnectedness of everyone, that's what you end up seeing and feeling when you observe the earth from above. Okay? Now I want to say, this is a very common dream state. Very common dream state where you are looking down at the earth. I've had a lot of clients tell me over the years, Kim, I had this incredible dream. Oh my goodness, it was really kind of scary. I felt like I could, look down and I could see stuff on the earth, and there was explosions, and there was screaming, and there was war, and there was a volcano going off, and there was, the earth was parched over here or something like that. All kinds of different things where they observed something and felt really emotional about it that was going on the earth. And I want to let you know that those are actually lucid dreams while you're hanging out in the fourth dimension, observing the earth from below. Okay? If you have dreams where you are looking down from any distance, okay? If you're standing on a ladder in your dream and you're looking down at the kitchen floor, that's still part of it. Okay, that's still part of a lucid experience, looking downwards at something and getting a different perspective. If you have dreams that you're on top of a mountain and you're looking down, same thing. Okay? Now I'll also say this. If you have dreams of being at an airport and waiting for your flight, being in the airplane, the airplane takes off, maybe seeing other people that you know at the airport, something like that, that's you traveling upwards in the fourth dimension zone around the earth. Okay? Airports and airplanes are a direct metaphor for you traveling upwards through the fourth dimension zone and seeing other people hanging out waiting for their flights to go up to fifth dimension. Okay? That's something that I've seen many, many hundreds and perhaps thousands of times with clients and with myself. You can pretty much count on it. Okay? Now, in the fourth dimension zone, there is so much going on. As I remember myself thinking back, recalling floating in the fourth dimension zone, I've connected with so many different human souls, right? People whose bodies are on the earth and they have ascended upwards with their consciousness and are hanging around in fourth dimension. But also, I've gotten to observe people without them connecting to me. Like I can be hanging up in 4D and I can feel other people around me, and I can feel their consciousness changing as they float up through fourth dimension on their way to fifth dimension. I can feel their brain sort of changing, their consciousness changing in smooth gradations as they ascend upwards to the other side. Okay, I can see people around the curvature of the earth, way over there. There's a bunch of people floating up out of their bodies and hitting the fourth dimension. I see people that are specifically, intentionally hanging out in 4D, looking at the body, looking at the earth, looking at all of the other humans' bodies down on the earth, getting a perspective as to what's going on, and making goals for problem solving and bringing solutions back down to the earth with them when they wake up. And there's one more thing that I see in the fourth dimension, and that is I often will meet other beings in the fourth dimension. So what's really interesting is we have this tight-knit relationship between the earth and our 3D consciousness and the other side and the 5D consciousness, but the 4D zone around the earth is actually where a lot of other types of beings show up. And I've been in contact with some of them. Some of them will only come down as far as the fourth dimension, but will not come all the way down to the earth. Sometimes I am tagged from my source, hey, come on up, let's meet in the fourth dimension. And I'm used as a channel, and I'll tell you more about that on another video. But your fourth dimension, you've been there many times. Okay? And it's perfectly natural and perfectly okay to think in terms of your ascent from three-dimensional Earth up through 4 and to 5 as being 100% compatible with the fact that you as a spectrum of consciousness have the ability to connect with all of the dimensions up and down your spectrum, and your spectrum is you. So actually the fourth dimension is you. The fifth dimension is you. It's just a matter of becoming lucid as you move up your own spectrum. Okay? So there it is. Our 4D zone around the earth, our transitional space to the other side, and our transitional consciousness to 5D consciousness. Okay? That's a lot. So I'd like for you to leave your comments and your questions, and I'll see you next time with more 4D stories. Thanks for being here. Take care.